The Canon R10 has just come onto the Canon website, so I thought I'd just go through a few things. I've looked at the R7 and I'm just looking at the R10. And so look at the weight of it. So 429 grams with a card and a battery. So to give you some idea, we're about 800 grams, 890 I believe, with the battery in the 5D Mark IV, so half the weight of a 5D Mark IV body. And this is what I've been looking for. The real change has got to be, I think, with mirrorless, we've got to have smaller cameras like Fuji went with, and they did the crop sensor. So this really interests me now, the 1.6. So I haven't got a problem with the, I'm not a full frame versus 1.6 crop sensor. I haven't got a problem with either. I can show you files from a 40D and a 5D Mark I. You wouldn't tell the difference, and when they're on the screen, I can't even remember which camera I use. So when you go 70 to 200 and you're working at that sort of focal length, you'll find it hard to tell the difference. I appreciate noise in those days, definitely 1600 ISO, we did notice a difference. But moving on anyway to this little camera. So the front, the manual focus AF switch is welcome. The button in the middle, I should think you can program, so probably depth of field, but you can program it. Could be quite a useful little button. Being able to switch to manual focus when you're in the landscape makes it nice and easy, because I believe a lot of these new lenses won't have that switch on. We've got them on the L series lenses, but it's a good idea actually. I think that's good what they've done there. So it looks nice, clean front of the body, not too many buttons. We don't want tons of buttons. Let's just go on to the next one. It's got the flip out screen. Again, if you like them, you can use them. There are times when you really will need them. I'm sort of here nor there about them at the moment, but I'm thinking maybe I'll end up getting an R10 as a backup body for in the camera bag for weddings and for just using general use, to be honest, because it's so light. So we'll see, maybe an R10, maybe an R7 just to try out. But flip out screen, ideal if you do obviously vlogging. I'll come on to another useful thing with that. I can see how they're developing the system now. So I can see where this R system is going. I was a bit confused at the beginning. I think they could do with now just coming clean with everything they're doing, because it would help us all. We can plan then. The second-hand market is sliding now for DSLRs, and I think this is going to make a big difference with the R7 and the R10 coming out, because you'll see it's got a lot in these cameras that we're going to like. The rear's nice and clean, menu button on the left, great. They put a joystick on it. If you're left-eyed, which I am, then obviously your face blocks this joystick. I don't know why they don't think of that. I should do a survey really. In fact, I'll do one now. If you're watching this video, comment below if you use your left eye or your right eye to use the viewfinder, because they assume everyone is right-eyed. I'm not, I'm left-eyed. I can't use my right eye. I'm right-handed. Never really understood that. So my face blocks a lot of these controls when I've got it up to my eye. So the joystick over here would be fine, which is what Nikon do, and they set the viewfinder back. We'll have a look at the viewfinder, and it is set back, but I don't believe I'm going to get my thumb in there to that joystick to muck around with it. So I doubt I'm going to use that, apart from maybe pressing play, whizzing around your images to have a quick look, zoom in, but we'll see. I don't mind this layout, looks fine, like it's not too many buttons, but there are FOM buttons there. If you use back button focus, which is where you take the focus from the shutter release, put it on the back button. I don't personally do that. I do focus recompose, and I use the shutter release, which I've always done. I can't get out of that habit, so I'm not trying to relearn anything. Let's come down. Now, the info button's there, which is great. There won't be a Q button because we're not in DSLRs anymore. So this will just, as soon as you move your eye away, it'll assume you're on the back screen, and all your information will be there. Now this little wheel, I think they could actually do away with. It's too small, it's very close to the play button, but yeah, so I've never really got on with it. It's got big thumbs, I think, and the Q button is there actually in the middle. I just noticed that. So yeah, I think they could have gone full touchscreen and got rid of this completely, to be honest. ISO would be on there, shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and a lot of this could just be on the touchscreen, but it's there. I doubt it's going to get in the way. I see this is quite a touchscreen type camera, but it's fine. Let's have a look at the next one. So we have got the viewfinder projecting out the back there. Now this is quite an interesting one because I find the viewfinders quite difficult to use anyway because I wear glasses, and your face is now pulled away from the screen, so you've got a big smudge on the screen. But I still don't believe you're going to really, if you're left-eyed, you're going to be able to use that joystick. I think they need to think about these things really. Do they actually need that joystick anymore? It's sort of like they're in this world between DSLRs and the new world. I believe they can fix a lot of these problems just by going full touchscreen like we've got phones. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, 2 years from now we go full touchscreen and we get rid of a lot of this. So top plate, you know, from my other videos you'll know I like the 5D Mark 1s, 3s, whatever, anything 5D. I've got a 5D Mark 4 I'm trying this year. I like the top plate screen because I just look down, I can see my settings, but you know, maybe this little camera, I've got to think of it differently. Would you actually need it if you were buying this camera? Maybe not. Glad to see the MFNs in there because that can be a useful button. You can program that. The lock, again, you know, don't really understand that. Hopefully the record functionality can go onto the shutter release. Won't know until we use it, but having that there, reaching over to try and press record, if you're using the EVF, you're trying to find it, so programming this button, the shutter release for the record, is a better idea, I think. But this is the interesting one. I missed it on the R7, but this new hot shoe that's for the flash is also an intelligent hot shoe. And you've got the new microphone, and that's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. I've seen an iPhone, I think an Android phone converter for the R3. You know, I'm going to have to look into that, but they're opening up a different area with this hot shoe, which is a good thing. You haven't got to have cables plugged into the mic. You can plug your mic in. The Canon mic will probably be very good quality. So again, you've got your vlogging setup, and then you've got your microphone you can put in. I think it's going to be good. So yeah, that's getting rid of, you know, wires. Slot your mic in, flip your screen, and it's a nice little camera. This is. I think they've done well with this. Now I mentioned with the R7, I don't know if you've seen that video yet, but they've taken the internal, obviously the sensor stabilization away, the IBIS, which is a bit silly in my opinion. I mean, just bring it across, unless it makes the body bigger, it could do. So, you know, that might be why they've done it, but I doubt it. Don't be mean, put it back in. So you want as much stabilization as you can now. We're trying to get away from tripods as much as we can. So having the ability to shoot at 1 second is a great thing. So combining sensor shift with optical stabilization, and we'll get onto the lens I like in a minute. It's a shame they left that out, but you know, say you've got your 50mm 1.8 from your EF lens lineup, which I've got, I don't use it, but say I wanted to put it on here, use it for video, suddenly I haven't got any stabilization. So that's unfortunate, and a lot of the lenses throughout the EF range obviously didn't have stabilization, so a bit of a shame, but I'm going to get onto how I'm going to use this little camera if I get one. The battery in it is the same battery I believe that they're using the M50, the M range, small battery. Doubt it's going to last too long, so you probably want about 3 of them. It's always going to be a downside. It's not the LP E6N or the NH, which is in the R7, so just be aware of that. Battery is a big problem with these power hungry cameras. I've noticed a massive difference between the 5D Mark 1 and the 5D Mark 4 with that big screen on. So yeah, but this, you know, maybe this camera isn't going to be used for what I'm thinking it's going to be used for, but let's carry on anyway. So you can get the 18 to 45mm with it. That's a nice little lens. I see that you'd own that lens, you'd use that lens, take it out and about with you. You could have a body cap, you could have that in your, you know, that's great. It's got the flash as well if you use, you know, you want to use that. But let's just get on to what I wanted to show you, which was the 18 to 150. And I see this is a really good little lens for this camera. So they've gone 6.3, 3.5, so let's just call it an f8 lens. So you might think that's really slow, but because we've got such great ISO performance in these new cameras, which we will have, so say we can go 6,400, 12,800, say 12,800 I believe will be the standard now. Obviously people are going to be testing it to death, but a bit of noise reduction is going to be fine, I think. So we've got an f8 camera. So this is a 29 to 240, I think, yeah. And that's going to be a really useful little lens, really lightweight. I've been doing the sums, and the lens is 310, body is 429 carbon battery, so it's 739 for the lens, 739 grams. So that's basically a 5D, it's lighter than the 5D Mark IV body. So that's great, a nice lightweight system with the lens to carry around or as a backup, or using in, you know, using it at a wedding. I'd enjoy using this. Let's have a look at this lens. So there you go, 29 to 240. But this is the big one. I was worried because it was going to be stabilized, but you've got a 4.5 stop stabilizer built into the lens. So for the R10, that's going to be a great little setup. 7 blades, so you're going to have a nice effect, you know, telephoto effect more than anything. Let me just touch on that. So if you zoom to 150 and you've got your 7 blades, you can have a nice background blur on that. Don't worry the fact you can't use 1.2. Come on one of my courses, I'll teach you all about that. People are obsessed with apertures. Telephoto is the best thing to be getting into if you want blurry backgrounds with these cameras. So this little lens is going to be great. It's got an STM motor, so that's going to be good with video pulls. You'll be able to pull smoothly. It's not going to be the fastest focusing lens. Probably the nano lenses are going to do better, or the USM, but until you use it you don't know. I'm not saying it's not going to be great. And you can stick the adapter on this, so you can pretty much use all the EF lenses. Well, you can, can't you? So I'll be able to use all my EF lenses with the adapter, and then you can use the S lenses as well. So you'll be able to use from the 250D or your S lenses, which really opens everything up. This is starting to pull together their system now. I can see what they're doing. So yeah, I'm really impressed with that little lens, and that would be great for the R10. Won't know how, I'm just assuming it's going to be really good quality, and it will be. And remember, everything that we're doing is software now. In Lightroom, just whizzing over to the 5D Mark IV to give you the last little bit, but just, you know, not everything has to be in camera, so there'll be I guarantee there'll be some decent distortion at the 18mm end of that lens. You'll be able to fix that in Lightroom, no problem. So there we go, 800 grams. I believe that's body only, that's without the battery in, which adds a bit. So let's say 890, I always remember that number. I've just ordered this lens actually, 24-105 Mark II. So we'll take a look at that. That is a very heavy setup. So as an alternative to switch over, you know, if I was say use 50% of the day, I'll be using this camera, and when it's the more casual stuff, using the R10 with that 18-150. It's quite a nice little setup. Anyway, let's go back. Yeah, so I rate this little camera. Haven't even used it. I've got a good gut instinct about this camera. I like the 250D. We'll touch on the viewfinder. Now what they're doing, which is spot on, this is what they needed to do. They're too contrasty. I've looked at all these different viewfinders. I mean, Nikon seem to be making a good job of theirs, but what I'm actually after, I don't actually like viewing the image as if it's the finished product. I know that sounds weird, that's why you've got the electronic viewfinder, but I've been doing this forever. So I just want a viewfinder that looks very natural. So I've got full dynamic range. And that's what they're doing as well. I'll have a whiz down through this in a minute, but they're going to let you have a mode which increases dynamic range. So it will increase the blacks and it will give a false, wow, it won't be the image that you'll end up with, but it'd be very natural to what you would see with your eye, which is what I'm after. I want this to act like an optical viewfinder, but have all the benefits of the autofocus system with the normal EVF. So you can look into that, but this is why there's many reasons why they're pushing away from the mirror. But yeah, just bear with me. Let's have a little look. There's a little spec sheet there. So let's go through that. Dual pixel AF2. That's going to be great. -4 EV for a little camera like this. Spot on. So the R6 snaps into focus in very dark conditions. I've been really impressed with that. So that's good. People are going to say 2.36. Absolutely no way. Why have they done that? Well, this is their bottom of the range camera at the moment. Remember, you're going to see, you're going to see cameras for maybe half this price coming out, I would suspect, over the next 12 months, maybe 2 years. So they're putting in a 2.36. That won't be as crisp as a full frame viewfinder, OVF, optical viewfinder, but they're putting the 120 frames a second, which is good, and they're going to do this natural. So let's see. I'm not going to say it's rubbish just yet, but let's try it out. 15 frames a second, mechanical, and there is an electronic shutter in here. I can't see it, can you? But I believe there is. But 15 frames a second, mechanical shutter. What more do you want? So that means literally, if you miss it with 15 frames a second, then maybe it's time to just video it, and you've got some good video specs over here. Now 32,000 and 12,800, well, I always look at these specs and just take some numbers away. So when I see 32,000, I go 25,600, then 12,800. So I would suspect at 12,800 these shots will be usable and they'll be okay. We'll wait to see all the real reviewers, not just me, the ones who really get into these cameras, to see what they can pull out of this file. But I reckon at 12,800 for stills, it's going to be pretty good. Maybe 6,400 is going to be really good. So we'll wait and see. Oh, there you go, missed it. 23 frames a second with electronic shutter. Brilliant electronic shutter in there. So now I've got my little camera for using during the ceremonies. You can tell I don't read these specs before I make these videos, but you know, they've only just put it up. So that is brilliant. 23 frames a second. So to give you an idea, I'm shooting 4K still, 4K video MPEGs out of the 5D4 at 30 frames a second. So we can do short bursts, and we're getting a file that is 24 megapixel file. So this little camera just takes everything a little bit further now. Very interesting camera this is. Rear screen is going to be as it is, whatever it is. They've obviously not given you what you, yeah, that's a bit strange. Let's see what it looks like compared to my iPhone. That's all I judge everything for against my iPhone now. That's a bit of a shame. We'll see how it looks, but oh well. 4K 30p, 4K 60p, you've got everything you want there. You know, so you've got a 6K, oh God, high quality video, oversampled from 6K. That's going to be a pretty good file, I would think. You've got 60 frames a second. Nice to see if you can pull frames from that as well, like you can on the 5D Mark IV. So it's 60 frames a second and you can pull the files and pull the stills out of it, 60 frames a second. That'll be interesting. You know, the fact they're putting in this new processor, obviously once they move on, they only want to make one processor. But to give you an idea, that's in their top of the range R3. And it's in the R6 and the R5. Slightly different sensor technology, but you know, you're getting the good stuff there. So brilliant. Live stream to YouTube. Couldn't be good. Let's wrap it up. It's 24.2 megapixels. Looks like a good camera. Look to have a look at that rear screen, which might not be great, but oh, looks good. I think we'll wrap it up there, but the bottom line is I think this R10 with the 18-50 shooting at f8 at the new benchmark of 12,800, which I believe it should be there. 4.5 stops in that as well. So for this particular lens, and I've got IS lenses as well, 24-105, 7200. We're looking at a good little setup there. So yeah, take a look at the website. I'll try and put a link in the description and some other links. They might not appear instantly when I upload this video, but keep track on the links. If I buy the cameras, I generally make a page about them on my website with a link. So we'll leave it there for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Take a look at the R10 page. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.